I've got a lot to say about The World Ends With You Final Remix. I like to try and give my videos a more conversational tone without splitting too far into categories, but in order to get all my thoughts and opinions together for this video, I'm gonna need to break things down in a somewhat random assortment of categories.
It was you. You killed me!
So The World Ends With You originally released on the DS back in 2008. My very first playthrough of this game instantly brought it up into my top 3 favorite games, just underneath of The Wind Waker. It's an extremely stylistic JRPG with combat elements unique to the DS's touch and dual screen capabilities. Everything about this game hooked me and I just could not get enough. In 2012, The World Ends With You was released on iOS with the suffix of Solo Remix. It was basically the same game with improved graphics and adjusted combat, basically to compensate for the loss of the second screen. And then in 2018, we got The World Ends With You Final Remix, more or less the iOS version, but ported onto Switch. So yes, technically this game is a port of a port, but they did give us a new scenario in the post-game and a whole bunch of remixed tracks. It looks fantastic on the Switch, and the new tracks are more than welcome. One of the best parts of The World Ends With You is its soundtrack. It's one of the best and most unique soundtracks out there. I really can't say more than that, so just take a couple seconds to listen to some of my favorite tracks.
You know how to take me.
I won't ever give in, no matter how hard you pull me in. I know gravity ain't an excuse, I just wanna make things a little more smooth.
내 미션 okay, wakat된 나 따라 all okay. Overs, cohorts, sold out, don't find the mark. Get on your mark, start what doing, what the frauding. I thought it's more no scramble, so it's not the rumble.
I haven't played a whole lot of JRPGs in my time, and I've heard that The World Ends With You does suffer from some typical JRPG tropes, but I absolutely love the story and the characters in this game. I was in grade 8 at the peak of my teenage angst, and this game was just the right amount of cool and edgy for me at the time. Neku Sakuraba, the main emo boy, is an angsty teen who just wants to be left alone, and his progression as a character learning to trust his friends and appreciate every moment sent a great message to me as a kid. The World Ends With You is very dialogue driven, but I wasn't ever bored reading any of it. I found that the dialogue was sprinkled in just enough and at the right times to lead you through the story without interrupting you too often when you wanted to just explore, shop, or battle. I will say some of the dialogue now is a little outdated. At the time it was super edgy and cool, but the odd line or two can kind of seem a little bit cringy nowadays. Overall though, great story, great concept, and with the inclusion of secret reports unlocked after beating challenges in the post-game, there's lots of secrets to be discovered and answered. Okay, so story is cool and all, but what really makes a game is the gameplay itself. The main premise of this game sets you off on daily missions over a week-long period. Each mission sends you running around Shibuya fighting bad guys and completing tasks. There isn't a whole lot of variety of missions, it's mostly plot, combat, but they do throw the odd puzzle your way. Unfortunately, none of these puzzles thrown at you are very difficult, and most thinking is done for you by the characters through dialogue. If anything, the puzzles are just used as roadblocks to force you into challenges so you can explore more of Shibuya. What makes The World Ends With You really stand out is its combat. Combat comes in the form of psychs. Through battle, shopping, and events in-game, the player can receive pins. Each pin has a psych and is activated in different ways. For example, one psych might require you to press and drag to have flames follow your finger around the screen, or swipe across Neku to fire bullets in that direction. Pins can be organized into decks of 6, and with lots of options like shooting lightning bolts, dropping boulders, and Krav Magaing your opponents into oblivion, there's loads of customization available. Pins can evolve and get stronger as well, adding a lot of depth to this whole pin system. There's hundreds of pins, and even playing through my second time, there's plenty I had never seen or heard of before. And finding a combination of pins that works together is super satisfying, and the touch controls work great, despite the inevitable hand crampage during long play sessions. The pin designs are cool, and collecting them and finding psychs is loads of fun, and it almost gives me a sort of Pokemon feel. The main enemy in The World Ends With You are Noise. Noise are based off of animals and are all given weird tribal tattoo-looking appendages. These Noise, when defeated, have a chance of dropping a pin. Each individual Noise has a different pin drop for easy, medium, hard, and ultimate difficulties. Each difficulty nets you a different pin, which all have different drop rates. For example, Noise number 13 has a drop rate of 9% for ultimate, 7% for hard, 1% for medium, and 0.5% for easy. Those are pretty harsh odds for drops, especially if you're playing on the easier difficulties. But here's where one of my favorite mechanics comes into play. On the main menu screen, you're given a level gauge. This can be used to decrease your level, dropping your attack, defense, and HP in return for a higher drop rate. so those low drop rates can be increased with the penalty of losing power and health. It's a really neat system and allows you to really play the game how you want. I personally play on ultimate difficulty with my level dropped to about half at the end game, so I still have plenty of health, but this will give me a larger drop rate. As you play, you can adjust your level and difficulty to match your situation. I really like this system. It leaves the challenge of the game completely in your hands. I like doing my bosses at a bit of a lower level for more challenge and for better drops, but I can also swap to easy and boost my level if I'm given a tedious task that I just want to get out of the way quick. If you haven't noticed already, everything in this game is stylish. The art style, the character design, the level design, it all just screams style. What first caught my eye was this game's unique look, the bold lines and somewhat surreal character designs, and the cool looking noise. I think this game looks fantastic on the Switch, and the improved graphics are a major step up from the original years ago. The story, music, artistic style, and the combat make The World Ends With You one of the most unique looking JRPGs out there. Now, the last topic I wanted to talk about has some spoilers on the endgame pins and the like, so if you don't want things ruined, then skip to the time that's on the screen. I mentioned earlier that the endgame had challenges for you to unlock secret reports that flesh out the story. Each day has 2, 3, or 4 challenges to complete to unlock a report for each day, and each day can be played through over and over through the chapter's menu. These secret report challenges include fighting extra bosses on hard or ultimate difficulties, triggering events to get different pieces of clothing, and so on. This gives you lots of incentive to explore the game again to clear challenges for crazy strong pins, fight tougher bosses, and find stronger equipment. Not to mention there's a few set of pins that are attainable that make you a powerhouse or nearly invincible. They're not the easiest to get, but they're super fun once you do manage to get the right drops. There's a boss rush mode available and an ultimate boss that's pretty damn hard on the first few tries. They've also added a new scenario to the final remix version that provides a bit of an epilogue to the story and some added challenge even with the super powerful endgame pin sets. It was a bit shorter than I would have liked, and it left me with more questions than answers, but playing new content for The World Ends With You was pretty refreshing. I really did enjoy the story in this game, but I think my favorite part overall was just the endgame, just doing constant battles, cool bosses, getting cool pins, and just feeling totally powerful in this cool world. Now, I've said good things for the most part, but there is a big, bad, ugly side to this game. Being a port to the Switch, a handheld home console hybrid, they also added a Joy-Con mode that places a cursor on the screen that you point around to attack for when you're playing in docked mode. It's not the worst, like it's nowhere near as good as the touch controls, but it works for what it is. However, it makes it much harder to be accurate with the pins, leaving a lot of them just kind of useless if you're unable to activate them properly. This Joy-Con mode feels like a band-aid solution to the docked play issue, and it really could have just been left out. Like, this game cost me $70 Canadian, whereas the solo remix on iOS costs only $20. I could see maybe like $40 being a reasonable price for a port of a port with some new content and music, but because of this Joy-Con mode, it's being priced way more than it should be. I really don't understand why they didn't just make it a handheld-only title and price it cheaper. I think it all around would have gotten better ratings and would have sold far better than it did. The World Ends With You Final Remix deserves more love, but the flawed cursor and the hefty price tag are keeping a lot of people from trying it. So let's just pretend this Joy-Con mode does not exist. If you think this game looks fun and you are okay with the steep price, then I would wholeheartedly recommend this game. If you're a bit hesitant because of the price, I'd maybe opt in for the iOS or Android version, or even the original DS version. The new content in Final Remix is super fun, but it's not something that should make or break your decision to play this game. I really think The World Ends With You is a game worth playing in any form it comes in, and I hope that we get to see more from this series in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on handheld-only games for Switch. I personally don't understand why there isn't more at this point. It just kind of makes sense that some games would be focused on the touchscreen. Anyways, meet me down in the comments, and I will see you next time.